We always hear sayings that have to do with Rome, like, when in Rome, do as Romans do, or all roads lead to Rome. But really, why is Rome so well known? Let's begin with the beginning of Rome. There's an old Roman legend of two brothers with the names of Romulus and Remus. They were raised by a wolf, but son of the war god Mars. Of course we know that these gods are not real, but it's only a legend, so what would you expect? So Romulus and Remus grew up, and eventually they made a plan to build a city. This city, in their minds, would be a great world-class place of luxury. However, Romulus and Remus constantly fought over where they will put this city. Over there, near the water! No, over here, near the hills! Soon enough, Romulus got fed up with his brother and murdered him. Rest in peace, Remus. After that, Romulus went out and started building the city he always desired to build, surrounded by 7 hills and near the Tiber River. He named it Rome after himself. Around the time that the legend of Romulus and Remus would have took place, there was a civilization known as the Etruscans, and they were pretty interesting. They invented many things like an alphabet, drainage systems, and togas. Around 509 BC, the king of the Etruscans, King Tarquinius, ruled over all of his land. People were getting fed up with being controlled by an all-powerful king, so they soon overthrew King Tarquinius. They started a new country that we now know today as Rome. The early Romans wanted a government where no one specific ruler leads, and everyone should have a choice on who would lead what. They created a new type of government called a republic. This republic is what the U.S. government today is based off of. Before you learn about the Roman government, you have to know what the social classes were. There were 2 social classes, the patricians and the plebeians. The patricians were the rich people, and the plebeians were everyone else. Plebeians. That name even sounds like something generic and bland. I feel bad for the poor plebeians. There were different branches of government in Rome, just like there are today in the U.S. First, there were the consuls, who would serve for 1 year each term, and there would be 2 of them. Their main job was to command the army and keep an eye on each other. Then there was the Senate. There were about 300 Senate members, and they served for life. The Senate would propose and vote on laws. There was also an assembly. No, not the kind where you all sit and listen to someone talk. It was an assembly of roughly 200 normal citizens who served for life, and they had to protect the rights of plebeians. Finally, there were the praetors, and there were about 1 to 16 of these guys. They served for 1 year, and they acted as the judges. For a decent amount of time, that was what Rome was like. It all changed when one guy showed up and decided to mess with the government that they had. At 44 BC, Julius Caesar named himself ruler for life. He was named short-term dictator earlier at 47 BC, but later he declared that he was ruler for his entire life. Julius Caesar made many important changes. For example, he reformed laws that needed to be better, he relieved debts, he enlarged the Senate, and established the Forum. The Forum was the religious, economic, and political center of a Roman city. It was very important, and many meetings were held there to discuss laws and political situations. Julius also greatly enlarged Rome, conquering Gaul and Spain. Not that long after Julius Caesar made himself leader for life, he was assassinated. On March 15th, Julius was told to meet with the Senate, and once he got there, was stabbed by his own quote-unquote friend. There were mixed opinions about Julius Caesar. Many people thought he was an evil tyrant, like Marcus Tullius Cicero. Listen to this letter he wrote to his friend Brutus. After the death of Caesar, Brutus, you have not forgotten what I have been omitted by you and your colleague, and what a heavy cloud I declared to be hanging over the Republic. Our tyrant deserved to die. Here was a man who wanted to be king of the Roman people and master of the whole world. Those who agree with an ambition like this must also accept the destruction of existing laws and freedoms. It is not right or fair to want to be king in a state that used to be free and ought to be free today. After Caesar's death, civil war spread across Rome, lasting for 13 years. Julius Caesar had an adopted son. His name was Octavian. He decided to end the civil war and make himself ruler just like his father. In 27 BC, the Senate awarded Octavian with the title of Augustus, which meant highly respected or majestic. Augustus's rule marked the start of the Roman Empire and the end of the Roman Republic. Augustus Caesar was Rome's first emperor. Augustus improved many things about Rome that might have been not so great, like making all soldiers swear allegiance. Previously, soldiers could rebel, but now they had to work for Rome, no matter what. He rounded out Rome's boundaries and also created the first fire brigade and police force. Augustus started an era of Roman peace that lasted for 200 years, known as Pax Romana. Christianity started in Judea, and before Christians, most Romans were polytheistic, meaning that they believed in more than one god. Christianity spread quickly because it provided equality for everyone, and anyone that was Christian appreciated each other in the same way. At around 54 AD, the emperor was Nero. Nero did not like Christianity. He said that Christians thought more of God than the emperor, and just for that, he persecuted them. He would kill them in many cruel ways, like crucifixion or letting them fight wild animals in the Colosseum. In 64 AD, Nero went as far as to blame Christians for a massive fire that spread across Rome, although now most historians believe that Nero started the fire himself and accused the Christians so they would be viewed as criminals. After many years of Christian persecution, an important emperor came to power. In 306 AD, Constantine became emperor, and the thing about him that was unusual was that he himself was a Christian. That stopped basically all of the persecution that was happening, and even kind of helped to promote Christianity in Rome. Constantine also moved the capital of the Roman Empire from Rome, the city, not to be confused with the empire, to a new city called Constantinople, named after Constantine himself. Many years after Constantine, the Roman Empire began to fall. There were many reasons for this, but there were 5 main reasons in particular that really caused the downfall of Rome. Reason 1, corruption. The new rulers took money that was made and only used it to enrich themselves, and not things that they should pay for, like the army and the people. This caused inflation, which brought the worth of money down, but also the leaders began to care less about Rome itself. Reason 2, a mercenary army. Mercenaries were foreign soldiers that only served the country for money. The mercenaries could not always be trusted, because at any moment they could betray Rome because they had no loyalty towards it whatsoever. This could be supported by a speech that the barbarian leader Galgacus said to his men. "Do you suppose that the Romans will be as brave in war as they are immoral in peace? Their own army, an army which, composed as it is of every variety of nations, is held together by success and will be broken up by disaster. These Gauls and Germans, and I blush to say, these Britons, who, though they lend their lives to support a stranger's rule, have been its enemies longer than its subjects. You cannot imagine to be bound by loyalty and affection. All the incentives to victory are on our side. The Romans have no wives to kindle their courage, no parents to taunt them with flight. Man have neither no country or no one far away." Reason 3, size of the empire. The Roman Empire was growing too large, and enemies were attacking from all over the empire. Slowly, Rome would shrink from wars being lost. There was only one attempt to stop this, and that was Diocletian's attempt to divide Rome in half, and have 2 leaders that governed their half of Rome. It helped, but not enough. Reason 4, Food problems. Food was scarce, so its price went up, which made it harder for people to get food. It also caused inflation because Rome produced more coins and it brought the value lower. Reason 5, bad economy. When Rome stopped conquering new land, sources of wealth were no longer available, and the empire struggled to pay the army. The last emperor was Romulus Augustulus, and he was only 14 years old. At AD 476, invaders from other countries took over what little was left of Rome, and they made the last emperor have to work at a small farm out in the country. That marked the end of Rome.